This is the story of Sir Elgar Dove. Elgar Dove was born outside the magical snow kingdom of Wintaria. When the king died, and his daughters were sent into madness, his mother fled with him to a nearby land where he was raised in a small cabin in the middle of the forest. His mother, Lunette, tried to raise him with all the traditions she grew up with in the great kingdom of Wintaria. She had magical powers gifted to her from a great spirit that she used to fill her cabin with magic and wonder. There were dancing gold snowflakes and a red candle throughout the cabin that helped keep her magic alive. Years went by, and young Elgar grew into a young boy. His mother taught him to be kind, gracious, respectful, and loving to all who came to him. One day, soldiers from a warlord's camp came to Elgar's cabin. He demanded to speak to his mother, went into the cabin, and told his mother who was at the door. She looked concerned but came out to talk to the soldiers. This soldier told Lunette the warlord, Humphrey Otto, had been aware that she had magical powers given to her by a great spirit. Lord Otto is fascinated with magic and demands that she present herself so he can use her magic for his bidding. Lunette looked at the soldiers with anger and said, "My magic is used to help people. She would never help a warlord, especially by using her magic." The soldiers looked angry. They gave her one more chance to change her mind, or there will be consequences. They said she looked at them and refused. At that moment, the soldiers set fire to the cabin. They set fire to the golden snowflakes. They took the red magic candle and threw it to the ground. Let feared what was going to come next. She told Elgar to run. She told him to run and never look back. Elgar cried, looked at his mother, and said no. He refused to leave her, but she knew if he didn't leave, both of them would die. She pushed Elgar and told him to run again, and he did. He ran down the hill. He turned back once as he, a soldier, raised his sword and killed his mother. Elgar continued to run with tears in his eyes. He lost the only person that meant anything to him in his life. He ran until he couldn't anymore. He stopped and fell to his knees and sobbed. Then, two soldiers appeared, and Elgar had nowhere else to go. He realized he was on the ice and was stuck. The soldiers took their swords and started to hit the ice. It began to crack, and Elgar fell through. The water was so cold. He couldn't feel anything. He tried to scream, but nothing came out. He started to fade. He started to see a golden shimmer surround him. Within a second, he was no longer in the icy water. He was standing in front of a throne. He was warm. His clothes were dry. His hair was dry, and he was baffled. He saw the shimmer again, and a magical fairy appeared. He looks shocked. He has heard stories of fairies, but he's never seen one before. The fairy greeted him. "Hello, Elgar. My name is Eva. You and I have never met, but a long time ago, your mother and I met. She saved me from a very dangerous spirit, and in return, I gave her the magic that lives inside her and lives inside of you. I am so sorry for what happened to her, but you can't give up. I am here to guide you. You have a purpose, and people will need you one day. Come closer," she said. Elgar walked closer hesitantly. Eva waved her hands around and produced a magical staff. It was beautiful. It was red with a gold crystal on top. She gave it to Elgar and told him that this magical staff would keep him safe and would help him help the people who needed him. Eva and Elgar talked for what seemed like hours. Elgar stayed in Eva's castle and was trained to use his magic. On Elgar's 19th birthday, he left Eva's castle and went out on his own. Eva gifted him with money so that he could eat and find a place to live, and that's what Elgar did. He went and bought a cabin. The gift that Eva gave him was a red candle to keep his magic alive. It was the same candle that his mother had, and it brought tears to his eyes. Elgar was walking through a village. He saw a shop and needed food when he walked into it. There was a woman he was nervous about, but he went up and asked her name. She looked at him shyly and said her name is Aya. She looked at Elgar and smiled. She asked him what he would like, and he asked for some flour, grains, and lemon cakes on the shelf. They looked delicious, and his mother used to love them. For the next month, Elgar would come into the shop once a week to pick up supplies. On the fourth week, he asked if she would like to picnic and have some lemon cakes he always buys. She smiled and agreed. After their first courtship, they had many more. On their first anniversary, Elgar finally asked Aya to marry him. She cried tears of joy and said yes. Their wedding was a beautiful. Elgar wore a dark blue tunic with a dark blue vest, and I wore a white gown with white flowers in her hair. It was such a special day. Eva officiated their wedding. The happy couple was very much in love. They moved into Elgar's cabin and started decorating the way it was when Elgar was a child. One day, Elgar and Aya were walking through a nearby town on their way home from the shops. They saw children sitting on the front porch of their home, freezing. I looked at Elgar and said if only we could do something for them. That's when Elgar remembered that he could use his magic to help people with anything. Elgar took his staff and raised it in the air. He envisioned food, toys, clothes, and firewood for the children. Within an instant, packages appeared on all the children's porches. The children ran out to Elgar to thank him. They asked his name, and he said, "My name is Elgar Dove." The children looked at him, smiled, and said, "Thank you, Sir Elgar Dove." News of magic things happening in the kingdom spread like wildfire. When the news came to Umfrey Otto, he was not happy, but he thought he had a second chance at getting magic. One day, the soldiers approached Elgar on his way home from getting firewood. He recognized their armor, knew who they worked for, and was ready for a fight. They asked him the same thing. They asked his mother, and he refused. When Umfrey Otto heard that he was refused again, even after what happened to Elgar's mother, he decided to take a different approach. Lord Otto's soldiers marched into the village where the children were. Lord Set fired all their homes. Luckily, none of them were home. They were all at school. Elgar heard of what the Lord did, and he was furious. He sent a message to Lord Otto telling him that they would meet and he would pay for what he did. Lord Otto wasn't afraid. He had soldiers and weapons. He could beat Elgar. He decided to go alone. On the day they were to meet, Lord Otto appeared in front of Elgar. He laughed at Elgar. He said that he should have handled him the way he handled his mother. In an instant, Elgar used his magic to make Lord Otto disappear. When the villagers found out that they no longer had to live in fear and that Lord Umfrey Otto was no longer, everybody sang out in joy. On the 19th day of winter, they celebrated knighting Sir Elgar Dove. Every year, on the 19th day of winter, a great celebration is held for Sir Elgar Dove, and on the eve of that day, children are blessed with gifts from the Great Spirit Eva. This is the story of Elgar Dove. He was a great man. He lived a happy life with his wife, Aya. We give many thanks to Sir Elgar Dove. May he rest in the Elysian forest.